Good morning from Loveland Pass, Colorado. Vince and I flew in last night to Denver, and now we're about to try to hike a 13er called Mount Snicktow. This might not go very well because, we just came from about 200 feet of elevation. Basically, the goal of today is to get a little bit acclimatized for tomorrow when we try to hike our first 14er. So I probably won't be talking much along this trail because I'm probably going to be too busy trying to breathe. But here we go. We started hiking and this trail is decently steep, so we had 1,584 feet of elevation gain to cover in just under 2 miles. Even the trailhead of this hike was higher than the previous highest hike I'd ever done. We haven't made it very far yet. It's going okay so far. We just pick a spot in our mind, get to it, and then stop and take a breather. It really does look farther away than it is. That's the summit right there. It's only about 2 miles to get up to it from the trailhead, so it's not that long of a hike. We're gaining on it pretty fast. The last time Vince and I did any serious hiking in Colorado was back in 2018, and I have to say I felt better on Mount Snicktow than I did back then, and I was in my 20s back then, but in those days I was hyper focused on rock climbing and not at all on cardio, so it was a nice surprise to find out that I was capable of doing this hike on my first day in Colorado. But as we gained some elevation, I did start to feel some effects from the altitude. Specifically, I was getting a little lightheaded. I'm getting dizzy even on relatively flat ground right now. Right. But by this point, we were really close to the summit, so I just slowed down a little bit, and that made me feel a lot better. Doing okay. I think we're kind of almost there. The weather turned really nice right as we took the final steps up to the summit, and we were able to hang out up there for a few minutes. We did it! The summit of Mount Snicktow. A little dizzy, but actually feeling okay.
15 minutes ago, you were like, oh, we'll never get up there.
I know, it really wasn't that bad.
Vince ate a snack, and I tried my hardest to catch some video of pikas, but those little guys are so fast, and they just don't stay still for very long.
We are gonna head down because the clouds are rolling in.
The way back down went by really fast, and the pikas kept stopping right alongside the trail. It was like they knew I had packed my zoom lens away and they were just trying to taunt me.
Oh my goodness, there's a pika right here and it's just staying right here. There it goes. Run away, little guy.
But I had to find it inside myself to rise above their mockery and keep descending down the mountain. On my way down, one of my knees started hurting, which has always been an issue for me with steep downhill hiking. My IT bands are just kind of sensitive, so it was just something that I was going to have to deal with for the weekend. Pretty soon we were back at the trailhead, and from there we drove back to our hotel.
We're back at our hotel in Idaho Springs, which is where we're staying for the weekend. We'll maybe go out and walk around town a little bit, get some dinner.
We decided to stay in Idaho Springs for the weekend because it was relatively close to all 3 of the trails we were planning to hike. Our room had a little patio overlooking Clear Creek, so this was a peaceful spot to relax after a long day of hiking. We also went downtown and walked around for a little bit before deciding to get an early dinner at Pickaxe Pizza. Then we went to bed early because we had to wake up at 3 the next morning to drive to our next trailhead.
It's like 4:30 in the morning right now, and we're getting an early start on trying to hike Mount Bierstadt, which will be me and Vince's first 14er, if we make it. It's about twice the distance and twice the elevation gain as yesterday. People who regularly watch this channel will know I am not a morning person at all, so we're gonna see how this goes, but I can't wait for the sun to come up.
It was still dark out when we started hiking, and one of the coolest things about this was that we could see a line of everyone's headlamps stretching up the mountain in front of us. The summit of Mount Bierstadt is at 14,065 feet, and we had to climb about 2,700 feet to get there. I was excited when it started getting light out, but it was a pretty cloudy morning, and it wasn't long before it started to rain.
It's raining. Onward and upward.
However, we'd packed layers so we could deal with a bit of bad weather, so we kept going, and by now I was starting to feel the altitude. I quickly realized that if I walked really slow, I could keep walking for longer without a break, so I just kept putting one foot in front of the other, just really slowly.
This is getting hard. I have to go so slow and just stop and catch my breath like really frequently. And we still got a long ways to go.
And then the rain turned into snow.
Oh, it's snowing now. It's really cold.
I definitely should have brought my ice climbing mittens on this trip because gloves just don't cut it for me at these temperatures, and my hands started getting really cold.
We just have no idea how close we are because we can't see anything.
We just kept going upward and we made it to the rock scramble just below the summit. It was freezing at this point and there were no amazing views because we were inside a cloud, but as we neared the summit, the cloud parted for just long enough that we got to feel a little bit of sunshine and see a glimpse of the valley below us.
Oh my god. Whoa.
This gave me the morale boost I needed to make it the rest of the way up to the summit.
Woo! How does it feel?
Cold.
There was no reason to stay up at the summit for long, so we started the long hike back down, and the clouds did part a couple more times along the way, just enough to give us some decent views right below the rock scramble. By this point, both of us were getting tired of being outside in the elements, and we just wanted to get down to the trailhead and be done with the outdoors for the day. But the weather did improve on our way down, so the hike became a lot more enjoyable. We saw a nice rainbow in the valley, and we stopped for a snack since it was officially warm enough to stop moving.
Look at the summit now. Not a cloud in the sky. You said to be done?
A little bit. But part of me wishes I was up there right now that it looks gorgeous.
And a few miles later, we were nearing the trailhead.
That's where we were. We're almost back to the parking lot. It's been a long half a day. This is the longest it's ever taken me to hike 7.5 miles. And that was really hard, but we did it.
As we drove back towards Idaho Springs, we pulled over to watch this family of bighorn sheep that we found alongside the road. But we were both pretty excited to get back to civilization, and the first thing we did was stop into this grilled cheese restaurant called Big B's. This was my favorite meal of the trip. It was good to get some comfort food after such a hard day. Later, Vince and I went to a nearby hot spring to soak our sore muscles, and then we ended the evening with tea out by the creek.
Well, we're gonna try to climb one more 14er while we're here. We actually managed to find a parking spot at the trailhead for Gray's Peak. I'm gonna be honest, part of me was hoping we wouldn't find a spot. Oh, I'm just tired and sore. But we gotta be ready to tough it out, hiking day after day after day in Nepal. So I guess let's do this. We wanna keep
left the whole way, do these.
It didn't take me as long to warm up this morning, and I think part of that is because I could already tell the weather was going to be a lot better than the previous day. The sky above us was full of endless stars, which meant there weren't any clouds overhead.
Very cool.
That's where we're going.
And within a couple of hours, a warm sunrise crept over the valley we were walking through. Today, we would have to climb 3,000 feet in elevation over a distance of about 3.5 miles. The summit of Gray's Peak is 14,278 feet above sea level, so we'd be climbing just a little bit higher than we had on Bierstadt. As the sun got higher in the sky, I completely forgot how much I had wanted to skip the hike that morning. Having fantastic weather made such a huge difference. I still had to walk slowly and my knees were still hurting, but I was surrounded by stunning mountain views and the sunshine kept me warm as I hiked. The coolest view along the trail was nearby Torrey's Peak, which is another 14er that people will often do on the same day that they do Gray's. I had already decided I wasn't going to go for it because I didn't want to put any extra downhill miles on my knees, but Vince was feeling good and he was thinking about trying it after we got to the top of Gray's. We were making much better time than yesterday, and before long we were at the steep section of the mountain. From here, there was just a bunch of switchbacks through a boulder field standing between us and the summit.
Well, I know I said I was dreading it today, but it's actually going a lot easier than yesterday. We've only got less than 1,000 feet left and we'll be on the summit of Gray's. And it's sunny, so it feels a lot better.
It was kind of hard for me to gauge how far away the summit was when I looked up at it from below, and I couldn't believe it when I took one final step and found that I'd already reached it. In fact, I wasn't even filming the moment because I didn't realize how close we were.
We did it, we're on the summit of Gray's.
We did it!
It almost felt like the hike had been too easy compared to Bierstadt. Like, it was hard for me to accept that this was it. We'd done the thing, and now it was time to go back down.
So Vince decided to stay up and try to do Torrey's, and I decided I just don't have it in me, so I'm going straight back down. It was a cute dog. But yeah, it was so beautiful up there. Yeah, I would say other than being more sore, today felt a lot better than yesterday. Having the sun out makes a big difference.
I made my way back downhill until I got to the spot where the trail branched off towards the two peaks.
Vince just summited Torrey's a few minutes ago, and I am at a meetup spot that we agreed on.
I made it, Katie. Thanks for letting me leave you behind on Grays.
I'm glad I didn't do it.
So I waited for about 20 minutes and then I caught a glimpse of someone coming down the trail whose gait looked very Vince-ish. I pulled out my zoom lens and sure enough...
Oh, yep, there he is.
Now that we were back together, we continued down the trail, but since the weather was still amazing and it was still early, we decided to take it slow and enjoy the day. This meant I could take some time to really put a good effort into getting pika footage, which at first I just got a bunch of shots of them running away and disappearing under rocks. But eventually my patience paid off and I was able to find some that were closer to the trail and more willing to stay put. Once I was satisfied with a few still photos and a bit of video, we kept hiking, and it was neat to get to see all of this stuff that we'd missed when we hiked through in the dark that morning. Now that we were close to the trailhead, Vince ran ahead to go fly his drone for a few minutes, and I continued to take it slow because my knees were getting really sore. Now that it's been a week since all this happened, my brain has started remembering it like, oh yeah, we just went to Colorado and climbed a couple 14ers, but it wasn't very hard, no big deal. And then I have to reality check myself, like, girl, you were struggling. You were walking at the speed of like a 3-toed sloth. So even though present day me seems to think I could have kept going for miles, past me was really excited to get back to the trailhead and be done with mountains for the time being.
Oh my gosh, we're finally back at the car. That took us about the same amount of time as yesterday, even though we stopped so much on the way back down, just looking for pika, just sitting and looking at the views. It was a really beautiful day, and even though I didn't want to do this morning, I'm so glad I did because this was definitely my favorite hike of the trip.
Back in Idaho Springs, we got one last dinner at El Azteca and then enjoyed one more relaxing evening at the hotel. The next morning, we walked over to a breakfast restaurant called Marion's, and I tried their homemade cinnamon roll, which was amazing.
Vince and I are just packing up to leave our hotel in Idaho Springs. I would say it was a pretty successful weekend in terms of training for Nepal. We found out a lot about how we react to altitude and basically how to go slow to make things easier on yourself. My target for the next month is going to be to strengthen my knees. Hopefully by the time we get to Nepal, it won't feel as bad as it could. The altitude up there is definitely going to affect us at some point, but hopefully we've done enough training to make it as easy on ourselves as possible. Vince and I, after we pack up, are just gonna probably stop at a park on our way to Denver, and then it's time to fly home to Michigan.
So we started driving towards the airport, and along the way we made a quick stop to Genesee Park and did a few more miles of walking along the Genesee Trail and the American Bison Trail. There was this big fenced-in area where the park keeps a herd of bison, and at first we couldn't find any bison, but just when I started thinking they must be taking the day off for Labor Day, we came across part of the herd. After we found the bison, we made our way back to the parking lot, and all in all, our long weekend in Colorado was pretty successful, and I think I proved to myself that I can keep hiking even when conditions aren't ideal. So in addition to getting to see some beautiful scenery in the Rocky Mountains, I also gained some confidence on this trip, and I think that will be really helpful for me in October.